welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a really fascinating look at the space between people. I mean, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
We're trying to find the ultimate shortcut to improving your influence and really mastering the art of reading the room.
Our mission today is to combine that hard corporate guidance on, minimizing workplace friction with some of the most robust, cutting-edge research on nonverbal cues.
Right.
So if you want to handle conflict and project authority, you really have to master the silent signals.
And if you doubt just how much that silent language matters, just think about this one fact of human communication. The total impact of any message is only 7% verbal.
Just 7% for the actual words?
The words you use, exactly. And then another 38% is vocal, so your tone, your cadence, your inflection.
But that leaves this massive remaining chunk, 55%, that is purely nonverbal. And that majority rule, it just confirms that understanding what people don't say is absolutely essential, especially in those high-stakes environments where, a disagreement might be brewing.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I think we should start at the source of the friction. Why does conflict even start in the first place? I think we all assume it's just, one bad apple, but the data tells a much, much bigger story.
It really does. We looked at the results of the CPP Global Human Capital Report, which is fantastic for this. It really lays bare the structural issues that organizations face.
Okay.
They identified the top 10 causes of conflict, and while the top 3 really tell you a lot about the pressure cooker that modern work has become.
So what's number one?
Number 1 accounts for 49% of all conflict.
Almost half.
Almost half. Personality clashes and warring egos, just people rubbing each other the wrong way.
Okay, that's not too surprising. But what about the other 2?
Well, this is where it gets striking, because they show the pressures everyone is under. Stress causes 34% of conflicts.
Right.
And that's followed really closely by heavy workloads at 33%.
So if you combine stress and workload.
I mean, you're looking at 2/3 of conflict being tied to systemic burnout and pressure. It's not just, inherently bad people.
So it's not a bad day, it's a bad system. And the sources confirmed those structural issues, didn't they? Poor leadership, that was another one.
Poor leadership, 29%. And a lack of honesty and openness, so people hiding the truth, that's another 26%.
And what's really concerning is the response to all this.
Exactly. We found that 53% of HR professionals report that their organizations are overwhelmingly reactive rather than proactive.
Reactive, so they're just waiting for the explosion.
They're waiting for the fire to be raging before they even look for the extinguisher. It just feeds right back into those structural problems.
And this kind of reactive culture, I mean, it puts managers in a completely impossible position, right?
It does. Over half of the participants, 55.7%, say managers just quickly pass conflict on to HR.
And why is that?
Because, 38.5% believe those managers just don't have the skills to deal with it themselves.
That is a staggering skills gap.
Eh.
So if the managers are basically running away from the problem, it puts the responsibility back on you, the listener, to spot the trouble early.
And the cost of missing those early signals is huge.
How huge?
Well, the consequences are tangible. Unaddressed conflict is a disaster. 10% of employees have seen conflict lead directly to project failure.
A failed project.
And a full quarter, 25%, have seen it lead to staff sickness or absence. This is exactly why spotting it is so crucial. The early warning signs are always there.
Okay, so what are we looking for?
You're looking for physical withdrawal. Things like crossed arms, leaning away from the person they're talking to. You'll see it in their face, frowning, looking down or away.
And you can hear it too, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. You hear it in the tone, it's cutting, it's dismissive, or maybe they're raising their voice for no reason.
So the key then is early detection. And that leads us straight into the silent language that comes before any verbal fight. Let's dig into how we can spot and maybe address negative attitudes using body language, which is often way more honest than words.
Definitely. When you start learning to read these signals, the absolute key is context. And observing what we call gesture clusters, you need to see a few signals together to really confirm an attitude.
Okay, so give us an example.
So if someone crosses their arms in a tense negotiation, that's a pretty clear sign of defensiveness, disagreement. They are literally putting a barrier between you and them.
But if they're standing outside a coffee shop in January with their arms crossed.
It just means they're cold, not defensive.
Right. Always check the context.
Always. But once you have the context, you can look for these universal signs of negativity, and we should start with that classic arm barrier.
Yeah, the sources say that a negative attitude will basically persist as long as that crossed arm position is held.
And it gets worse. If they add clenched fists to that posture, the fists clenched, arm crossed, you're moving past simple defensiveness. You're getting into hostility, aggressiveness even.
But this is where the actionable power comes in, right? There are solutions.
Yes, and the solution is physical, not verbal. See, the body creates the attitude, so you need to break the pose to change the attitude.
So what do you do?
You can give the person something to hold, a glass of water, a pen, a report. It forces them to unfold their arms.
Oh, that's clever. Or you could ask them to lean forward to look at something on a screen or on a piece of paper. You're just moving them into a more open position.
You're basically hacking their brain by changing their physical posture.
I love that.
Okay.
What's another big indicator?
Another really powerful one is hands clenched. This is a classic signal of frustration, anxiety, or, holding back a negative thought. You see it a lot when someone has to listen to an idea they hate in a meeting.
And there's a fascinating detail about the intensity here, isn't there?
Yes. The degree of frustration is often linked to how high the hands are held.
So higher is worse.
Much worse. Hands clenched high up in front of the face, that signals way more intense distress than if the hands are clenched down on their lap. The higher they are, the more desperately they're trying to hold it together.
Okay, now let's shift from that unintentional defensiveness to intentional deception.
Yeah.
Lying. We know people try to use their face to cover up a lie, but the body often gives them away.
It really does. And interestingly, research shows that liars, especially men, actually smile less than they usually do.
Less. You'd think it would be more.
You would, but they subconsciously associate smiling with being a giveaway, so they suppress it. But the real tells are in the micro gestures.
So what should we be scanning for?
An increased eye blinking rate. This is a huge clue. It can jump from the normal, say, 10 blinks per minute all the way up to 50 when a person is anxious about being caught in a lie.
50. That's a massive spike.
It's massive, and it's virtually impossible to control.
And I thought this was great. The source material talked about the lower body.
The lower body is so reliable because we just aren't used to controlling it. Think about foot tapping or that leg jiggling you see.
Right.
Those are displacement gestures. It's literally the brain signaling a desire to run away from the uncomfortable situation. So if you're in a pitch meeting and the client starts violently jiggling their leg under the table...
You should probably just wrap it up.
Yeah.
The sale is lost. Their brain is already trying to leave the room.
Precisely. And that's why executives so often hide their legs behind solid desks. It reduces the risk of that involuntary tell.
Okay, so we've talked about how body language betrays negative emotions. Let's flip that. How can we use our hands to actively convey credibility and status? This ties right into that amazing research from the University of British Columbia.
It does. The UBC study analyzed thousands of hours of presentations, and it found that purposeful hand gestures significantly boost a speaker's persuasiveness and their perceived competence.
But you said purposeful. Not all gestures are created equal, right? Which ones actually signal mastery?
The clear winners are what we call illustrators. These are gestures that visually map out or depict what you're saying. So if you're talking about a large problem, you show the size with your hands. If you're discussing 3 points, you hold up 3 fingers.
And why do those work so well?
The audience perceives it as a sign of mastery. The speaker seems more knowledgeable because they're literally painting a picture of a complex idea. Understanding goes way up because the information is hitting both the visual and verbal channels at the same time.
And what about the gestures that don't work?
Simple gestures like highlighters, so constant pointing or just random nervous hand movements, they showed little to no impact.
In fact, pointing can feel really aggressive to most people.
Yeah, it's best to avoid it entirely. Now, let's contrast those winning gestures with some high-status postures that assert authority. Think of the steeple gesture.
That classic, thoughtful corporate pose.
Exactly, where the fingertips are pressed together. It signals confidence and superiority. And here's the crucial psychological feedback loop. Just taking that position can actually make you feel more confident.
Right, through cause and effect.
It's an act of subconscious fearlessness. You're exposing your torso and keeping your hands high and in control.
And what about when you're just standing casually?
Hands are still key. Thumb displays denote superiority and ego. When people stand with their hands in their pockets but just the thumbs hooked outside, that is a powerful dominant signal. You almost never see low-status individuals do that.
Then we get to the really aggressive territorial postures. We often see the catapult or the legs spread posture, especially with men in business.
Yeah, and we should separate those. The catapult is when you're sitting with your hands clasped behind your head, leaning back. It signals confidence, relaxation, but also sometimes indifference. The boss dismissing an employee's problem.
The kind of relaxed dominance.
Exactly, and the leg spread component, that's just pure territoriality. It's an aggressive signal of ownership and power.
And the research was very clear on this point.
Very clear. Women often report feeling intimidated by the legs spread position in professional settings. So the advice for men is simple. Keep your legs together in business meetings.
Okay, before we move on to territory, we have to talk about smiles. They seem universally positive, but they're not always, are they?
Socially positive, yes, but their primal root is actually submissive. Smiling comes from the 8 fear face, which is an appeasement signal shown to a dominant primate.
So in humans, it just tells another person you're not a threat.
Pretty much. But you need to be really vigilant about the tight-lipped smile.
That's the one with no teeth showing, lips stretched tight.
Exactly. It's a clear rejection signal for women, often signaling suppressed anger or true dislike, but it is very frequently missed or misinterpreted by men as just, polite acknowledgement.
That's a really powerful distinction. So, okay, let's take this whole concept of silent signals and apply it to space. How does this affect our daily physical interactions?
Well, our perception of distance is deeply rooted in our primal need for personal territory. We all carry this personal portable air bubble around us.
An air bubble.
And this bubble is defined by 4 pretty precise zones. The intimate zone is 6 to 18 inches. That's about the length of your forearm. This is strictly for emotionally close people.
And if a stranger gets in there?
It causes an immediate physiological fight or flight stress response. Your heart rate goes up. Adrenaline spikes.
Okay, and what's beyond that tight bubble?
Next up is the personal zone, from 18 to 48 inches, roughly arm's length. This is your comfort distance for social gatherings, like a party. Beyond that is the social zone, 4 to 12 feet. That's the standard distance for strangers, new employees, that sort of thing.
And the problem comes when 2 cultures with different sized bubbles meet. The sources talk about this waltzing effect.
It's a perfect illustration of mutual misconception. So imagine a Japanese negotiator whose intimate zone is small, maybe 10 inches, interacting with an American whose personal zone is much larger, up to 48 inches.
So the Japanese person steps forward to feel comfortable.
And in doing so, they invade the American's intimate space, which forces the American to step back to reestablish their comfort zone.
Then the Japanese person steps forward again to maintain that connection, and the American retreats again. It's a jance.
It is. And the result is these mutual, totally incorrect misconceptions.
The American thinks the Asian person is pushy or familiar.
Right. While the Asian person perceives the American as cold or standoffish because they keep backing away, all because of a tiny cultural difference in spatial needs.
So you can actually use this intentionally. You can use seating arrangements to either build cooperation or assert power.
Absolutely. If you want a friendly, casual chat or a presentation, the corner position is best. Sitting at the corner of a desk gives you a partial barrier, but still allows for great eye contact.
And if you want to fight,
you choose the competitive defensive position, directly opposite someone. It forces short sentences and confrontation.
And the desk itself is a huge barrier.
It's massive. The data shows that 95% of business rejections are delivered from behind a desk. Managers who use their desk as a barrier are seen as less fair-minded and more authoritarian. Removing that barrier is a huge nonverbal cue that you're on the same team.
This deep dive has given us some serious tools for awareness. So let's summarize the 2 key takeaways for you, the listener. First, mastering these nonverbal cues allows you to spot troubled defensiveness, hostility, even deception before it escalates into a formal, costly conflict.
And second, that awareness empowers you to consciously adjust your own hands, your posture, and your use of space to influence outcomes. And this is so critical because 70% of employees believe conflict management skills are critically important for leaders.
Right.
You can project confidence, mastery, and openness just by adjusting that 55% of your message that your body is already sending out.
We've seen how deeply ingrained our perceptions of authority are, right down to how we use our hands and legs. So knowing that perception really dictates authority, we want to leave you with this provocative thought. If a strong performance on television can make a short politician seem 6 inches taller to voters, what small, high-status, nonverbal change could you make today to be instantly perceived as more authoritative, without having to change a single word on your resume?
You can think about the little details that signal status, drawn right from the cues we discussed. Consciously maintaining an upright posture that exposes the chest, maybe choosing dark clothing, which is associated with authority.
Or even something like a high-status accessory.
Exactly, like a full-size chronograph watch. Find your one small cue, and you can take charge of the conversation before you even say a word.